This is the GTN Show, and with me moving into my 30s last week, it's got me thinking about the ages in triathlon. So today we're going to be discussing the optimum age for triathlon.
Well, I think that's going to be an interesting topic. Well, as that, we've got plenty of race news, quite a few announcements, including the new Zwift Tri Team.
Okay, it took me a little by surprise at XTERRA Malta when I was put in the 30 to 34 category and leaving my 20s behind. But it has got me thinking about the optimum age for triathlon. Now, we often regard 30s as the optimum age, but there's so many incredible athletes racing into their 40s. You've got like Tim Don, the Ironman record holder, Craig Alexander, Chris McCormack, Tim DeBoom raced up into his 40s, and Bevan Doherty.
Well, we've got a few women who are creeping into their 40s. I mean, there's Meredith Kessler, I think she's 39, she's just coming back now. Yvonne van Vlerken won on the weekend. Yeah. She's 39, so she's going to be 40 this year. And I think, maybe for the women, it's not quite as old as the men, but still it's quite an impressive
really
age.
Impressive, yeah. And actually outside of triathlon as well, with some of the other professional sports, in running, got Bernard Lagat from the US, actually qualified for his 5th Olympic Games. One of the best distance runners in the world, beat Galen Rupp in the US trials.
Well, staying with running, Jo Pavey, Great Britain's Jo Pavey, she's been to 5 Olympics and she's not ruling out going to a 6th. She won Commonwealth, I think it's Commonwealth bronze and European gold in her 40s, over 10K. Oh. So, and then if we go outside of running where maybe you've got a slightly larger lifespan. Nick Skelton, like an amazing example. At 58 years old, he won a gold medal at the Rio Olympics in show jumping. I mean, that's crazy. He retired at the age of 59 from professional sport.
Wow, and even away from professional sport, we've got some incredible stuff happening. So Sister Madonna Buda, that many of our viewers will know, at 87 years old, she is the oldest female competitor to go under 17 hours for an Ironman. And then we have Lou Hollander, who's also around 87 years old, the oldest male Ironman competitor, and with a staggering 25 Kona finishes.
Wow, I can't imagine that. One's definitely enough for me. But it's got us thinking. We've done a little bit of research ourselves and found that Ironman actually did some research at the World Championships, and they've discovered that the age of 35 is kind of your peak physically when you then start to drop off, but on the plus side, the drop-off's only gradual until you're about 50 or 60. So we've got some time left, Mark, but then that drop-off is actually increased. It gets much faster when you get to that age. And noticeably, it's the bike that has less of effect, but the run and the swim more so. And the main reason for the performance drop-off is the fact that your VO2 decreases. But there's quite a few different reasons for that. One of which being that your maximum heart rate is going to decrease, and there's not really much we can do about that. But then it's also maybe, your lifestyle, and do you think that you're older? Are you less motivated?
I guess maybe as we get older.
Do you drink more beer, Mark? I don't know.
Not at all. I guess, as we get older, we have more social obligations. We're limited for time. I have a very busy life.
He's making these excuses.
These get in the way of your training, and that then hampers our fitness, our VO2. But what the research is saying is it doesn't have to be quite so such a big drop-off. You can actually maintain it, albeit with a slight decrease, but you can maintain it quite well.
Yeah, I mean, I remember sitting in university, I think I was in my final year, so I was 2021, and the lecturer telling us that at the age of 25, your muscles start to basically decrease, and I was like, I've got 4 years left before my muscles are all just going to disappear. And I remember this being really quite concerning, but I've managed to continue improving definitely more in endurance, and we see endurance athletes, like we've talked about earlier, getting stronger. So there's so much behind that, like you say, about the training for it.
Well, yeah, that's another thing with the research. It shows that as you get older, you lose your fast twitch fibers. But obviously your muscle does decrease, but you've got more slow twitch muscle fibers, which is why we're more suited towards the longer distance as we get older.
So are we just basically talking about things to make us feel good and make you feel better about being 30?
Yes.
Well, that leads us nicely on to this week's poll, and we want to ask you what you think is the optimum age to race at. Now, I can imagine most of you guys being pretty biased and probably being the age you're at or the age you're about to become. So the options are in your 20s, in your 30s, in your 40s, or other. And I think I know what Mark might go for.
Well, you can enter that poll by clicking just up here. But we have the results for last week's poll. For cold and wet triathlons, what would you wear? In last place, it was other with 3%. In fourth place, it was a body warmer with 15%. In third place, waterproof with 21%. Second, arm warmers with 24%. And then the winners, some hard people out there, just a tri-suit, 34%. Now, I would have said that previously, but I raced some very cold races the year before last in Mallorca and Norway. And I regretted just wearing a tri-suit, so I would actually opt for a body warmer.
Have you ever worn more in a race?
I've worn arm warmers before,
okay.
But definitely for Norway, I would have opted for, and I know quite a few pros did, opted for a proper rain jacket or waterproof. And I thought I was being smart and going for the quick option, and I really suffered. Now for the caption competition, and last week we had a photo from a recent race of a chap jumping, diving into the water. Yeah, it was quite funny, and quite a few of you referred to the GTN video we did early on in the channel, where we did a little diving challenge with them. If you haven't seen that video, well, that was a funny dive by Matt.
It certainly was, and you guys definitely picked up on those similarities between those GTN dives and what you saw there in that caption. So the runner-up this week goes to Caffeine and Carbs, saying, "We finally convinced the GTN presenters to enter a triathlon. If only we did."
The winner goes to Bazza Clark, a 0-5, and he said, "Matt makes his trademark diving entrance into the field of triathlon." Bazza Clark, 0-5, you are the winner of this week's GTN cap. But this week's photo.
I didn't choose this one, surprisingly. Yeah, I mean, it's me.
Bit of an explanation here, Heather?
I just had enough of filming for the day. Out in Malta, it was
So whilst I was off filming all my videos, this is what was going on.
Do you know what you can't see in this photo is that is not flat, and that's a really, really steep hill. And the cameraman kept making me run up and down it numerous times.
Well, please send in your captions in the comments section below. Well, recently we spoke about the Zwift Tri Academy, where Zwift and Specialized are going to be teaming together to support some of the top age groupers, and they've just announced their winners.
They have. They got Golo Philip Rawkin from Germany. They've got Bex Roomington from the UK.
And from the US, they've got Rachel Northfleet, and from Belgium, they've got Gert Janssens.
Well, those 4 lucky athletes are going to be supported, obviously, by Specialized and Zwift. They're going to have a full bike setup, including wind tunnel testing over in California, I think. They're getting coaching from Tim Don, race support, it said, and guidance from Lucy Charles, and then the fact that they're supported, they get to choose one qualifying race, which I think they have up to $1,500 to pay for them to go to then qualify, and in the hope that they obviously get to Kona. This is the main aim, that they get on the podium and potentially win their age groups at Kona.
And of course with all the lovely Zwift gear, so very lucky athletes, and best of luck to them this year.
Well, in less positive news, the IOC have announced their concern over the water quality over in Tokyo ahead of the 2020 Games. Now, apparently the E. coli levels are about 20 times the recommended at the moment.
That doesn't sound good. Well, this isn't the first time we've had scares like this. For Rio, obviously, we had scares with the water quality. And even in Delhi for the Commonwealth Games, triathlon was cancelled. But we are obviously on this well ahead of time, and they are doing thorough testing and they have procedures in place. So fingers crossed, it's all sorted in time. Right, next bit of news. Challenge have just announced their new Tri-Slam. So if you race Challenge Venice, Challenge Almere and Challenge Madrid, you get the opportunity to enter Challenge Rot the following year.
And then if you complete Challenge Rot, you get a special prize and an award for the Tri-Slam, even though you have done 4. But still, I think it's pretty cool. It's very much European based, but quite an accomplishment to manage all 4 of those within a year.
The Super League Triathlon have just announced their 2018-2019 season schedule with 5 championship rounds and 2 qualifier rounds in Canada and Poland.
Well, the championship rounds are going to be in Jersey like we had last year, then they have one in Mallorca, followed by Malta, and then into the new year in 2019 they're going to Singapore and then finishing off in Australia. Now it's already attracted some big names as we've seen the likes of the Brownlees racing, but last year it was missing Flora Duffy, and she has actually announced in a statement that she's going to be racing the first championship race in Jersey, and she's really excited by the different format. And I think from a spectator's point of view, it's going to be really fun not only to have racing going on throughout the winter, but also the fact it attracts different types of athletes.
Yeah, well, Super League Triathlon is, well, a very unique race format, as you've mentioned, but it attracts 50 of the top triathletes in the world. 25 men, 25 women, racing for a very big prize purse, so you can expect some very exciting racing. Now for the race news, and this week we've got a heck of a lot. First up, we've got XTERRA Danao, and in the women's race, it was Jackie Slack that led the swim out, with a minute gap over Karina Vossler and Penny Slater. Then onto the bike, Karina Vossler posted the fastest bike split of the day and then ran away for the victory. In second, it was Penny Slater, but in third, it was Miriam Guillot-Basset. And unfortunately, Jackie Slack crashed out and couldn't finish the race.
Well, on the men's side, it was Ben Allen who led Sam Osborne, shortly followed by Bradley Weiss, and then Kieran McPherson was about a minute back on them. And it was Weiss who soon caught Allen, but Osborne had already gone up the road until he suffered a puncture when him and Weiss ended up coming into T2 together, and it was a bit of a running battle there. Bradley Weiss went on to take the win, Sam Osborne second, and Kieran McPherson third.
Woo!
And then it was... What happened to Ben Allen in the end? It was... No, he wasn't. No, he didn't. Oh, for goodness sake. Followed closely by...
Bradley Weiss.
For goodness sake.
And then a minute back again, it was Kieran
So
McPherson.
painful. Sam Osborne went on to take the win.
Bradley Weiss did, I'm going to say.
Osborne who... Oh, for goodness sake. But Osborne...
Yeah, Osborne won.
Oh, I had it and I didn't... Oh, sorry.
Next results come from the Surf City Escape Triathlon in Huntington Beach, and it was super close racing on the men's side. We had Jason West with a 1 minute 26 deficit over Cam Dye out of the swim, and then lost a further 55 seconds on the bike. But then he had a blistering run split to take the win by just 8 seconds over Cam Dye, who took second, and in third it was Eric Lagstrom.
Well, on the women's side, the swim was led out by Sophie Chase, a 24-year-old who had a lead on Sarah Haskins, but that soon got whittled down on the bike. And then it came down to the running race, and it was Sophie Chase who ran a 36-minute 10K to take the win over Erica Arkeland, finished third.
Now for Ironman 70.3 Peru, and in the women's race, it was Kirsty Withrow that led the swim out with a sizable gap over Sarah Piano, but eventually managed to whittle that deficit down to just 53 seconds by the 48-kilometre mark, and then eventually managed to lead off the bike with Kirsty Yan. Piano ran away to take the win whilst Withrow faded, and actually Kirsty Yan crossed the line in second, but was later disqualified. So Withrow took second place, and in third, it was Romina Palacio.
On the men's side, it was Andy Potts who led out the swim, but on the bike he was soon caught by a group including Cyril Viennot and Mario De Elias, but then it came down to the run and it was Cyril Viennot who started to open up a lead and ended up winning by 30 seconds ahead of Andy Potts in second, and that meant Mario De Elias finished third.
And for Ironman 70.3 at Florianopolis, and in the men's race, it was just 30 seconds separating some of the key players out of the swim, including the likes of Tim O'Donnell and Igor Amorelli. And after the bike, it was Igor Amorelli that had a 5-minute advantage over his chasers. He went on to take the win, Tim O'Donnell in second, and then in third, it was Yuri Venuto.
Well, at the end of the swim in the women's race, it was much more spread out. Pamela Oliveira had almost a minute and a half ahead of Lauren Goss and the chasing group. By the end of the bike, she had about a 2-minute lead, and then it came down to a running race as the others were chasing her down, but Pamela Oliveira went on to get the win just by 11 seconds ahead of Bruna Marn, also from Brazil, and the podium was made up of Brazilians because it was Beatriz Neres in third.
Now for the exciting Challenge Moga and Gran Canaria, and it was exciting because we had a stacked field on the men's side, including the Ironman world champion Patrick Langer. But it was actually Pablo de Pina Gonzalez that spoiled the party with his 1:09 half marathon run split to take the win over Andy Bokra in second and then Patrick Langer in third. And just to show you how competitive this race was, in fourth we had Bart Ernaux and in fifth Sven Riedera.
Oh, that was a deep field. The women's field wasn't quite so deep, but Van von Vlecken, we've already mentioned, had another win this weekend. She did have quite a deficit after the swim, about over 3 minutes, but then with a consistent performance, she got the second fastest bike of the day and the second fastest run. Ended up winning over Eva Commander in second and Anna Noguera Roya in third.
And finally, Challenge Melbourne. Now, we said there was a lot of race news this week. In the women's race, it was Annabelle Luxford that combined a women's best swim split, second best bike split and second best run split to take the win over Laura Siddle in second and Radka Karlefeld in third.
On the men's side, Mike Phillips was very much in touch, came out with the lead pack, but he lost his lead throughout the bike, but due to his race best run split of a 1:10 half marathon, he went on to take the win ahead of Levi Maxwell in second, and it was Max Newman who finished third. It's now time for this week's Hot or Not. And starting us off, we have a hydration biosensor. This has been designed by Nix and it's a sweat-based biometric sensor that monitors the hydration levels of athletes.
Yeah, I believe this is a patch that goes on your skin, on your arm or wherever, and it records it in real time. So you can see how your hydration levels change during an activity. It's a one-use patch per activity. Hot or not, Heather?
Sounds pretty cool. Give it a hot.
Now we have the Wildflower Elite entry announced. Now Wildflower Triathlon is one of the most historic and iconic triathlons out there. They're celebrating their 35th anniversary this year and they've got a stacked field. They've got the 6-time Paris race winner Jesse Thomas alongside Ben Hoffman, alongside a number of other very fast male competitors. And in the women's race, got Heather Jackson.
Yeah, she's won it 3 times, I think. So it's going to be a stacked field. Now, I probably guess which way you're going. What is it, Mark?
Well, after their cancellation in 2017 due to the drought, this has got to be hot. The next one is the Aeropod that we've come across on Kickstarter. Now, this is another pitot tube design that basically records your CDA, your coefficient of drag, your aero position, and also your power, similar to the Swiss side one and the Notio Connect that we've also featured on the channel before. Heather, hot or not?
Well, they had a crowdfunding target of $40,000 and they've almost doubled that already, so I don't think I'm going to be alone in saying it's hot.
The next one's from our partners at Quark and it is the TireWiz tire pressure sensor. So basically this connects to the valves on your wheels and it gives you real-time feedback on the pressures of your tires whilst you're riding and also just to get really precise values on those pressures.
Well, I guess it means the end to like having a ride when you're feeling really sluggish and you keep looking at your tires going, they must be flat. Why is this hill feeling so hard?
No excuses now, you can look at your computer.
And it could be quite interesting to do some experiments with, so hopefully we'll get our hands on one of those soon. Well anyway, Mark, hot or not?
It's a hot.
Right, well, we really enjoyed doing this hot or not feature, but thought it's probably time that we opened it up to you. Now, if you've got anything that you want us to give clarification on as to whether it's hot or not, whether that's a story or something that might have happened to you, maybe it's a piece of kit you wear or you see someone else wear, and you want us to give you that clarification.
I think this could be quite good fun, really. Yeah, so if there's something you're wearing to your club session, for instance, and you've had a few comments and you'd like us to let you know whether it's hot or not, and we're very qualified in that, obviously, do send that in with the hashtag GTN hot or not. It's
now time for the GTN Tribe, and this week we're heading back to Thailand. And interestingly, the title of this club might slightly throw you off the scent because it is Turtle Running Club in Chiang Mai.
Yep, so they started out obviously as a running club and then they started doing a bit of swimming, a bit of cycling, funnily enough, started doing triathlon.
Yeah.
And they've now got over 200 members in their club, and I have to be honest, it sounds like a great club. They do all sorts of fun stuff. They really look after kind of the friendship in the group, and they do stuff like running to the top of the mountain and picking up garbage.
Oh, they sound very exciting. They've made a running event that's to help children. It says animals as well, so I'm not sure if it's for the children to run that helps the animals, but we'd love to know more about that.
Yeah, or lost in translation, I'm not sure. But either way, it sounds fantastic, and we've got loads of great photos from them doing lots of running events and all sorts. So fantastic. Please do keep sending in your GTN tribes using the hashtag GTN Tribe. Well, that's it for the GTN show this week, and we have loads of great videos coming for you this week, particularly on Sunday, where we have an exciting challenge between Heather and myself. And to make sure you don't miss that, make sure you subscribe to GTN by clicking on the globe.
And if you want to see a video we recently did for our Triathlon Training Explained series, we looked at the effects of drafting, but not on the person who's drafting, but the actual athlete in front. So check that out just here.
Yep, and if you'd like to see my XTERRA vlog, you can see that by clicking down here.